going into week 2 now of fixing the camper. So, new TV, which was a debacle. So, the TV there seemed okay. I figured I'll just keep it in there. It had the Dolby digital and all that stuff. And I figured, well, because we wanted to try to get away to stream. So I figured, okay, well, let me just get like the Roku box and I'll hook it up. That way I don't have to mess with taking out the TV. So did all that. Turns out it won't work because the remote was fried. And I could not get to the auxiliary channel through the TV, the buttons on the side of the TV. So after 2 hours of screwing around with that, I had to take it all out, return it to Walmart, and then I had just did what I should have done, and I just bought a TV. So there was a 22-inch in there, and now it's a 24, but the frame is a little smaller. So it's actually pretty close to the same size. Although I did move the bracket out, so I can actually get the TV swung around better now. So it actually works out better because I had to lower the bracket because the mounts for the TV were in a different spot. So I had just got it out closer to the corner, and now I can get the TV like in a good position that when you're in the dinette, you can see it a lot better than what you could before. So that's that for the TV. But then, so yesterday, I finished up the TV in the morning because I had started that whole debacle on Sunday. And yesterday, I wrapped up the TV, got that mounted, got the Roku all set up, and, this and that and the other. So we're good there. I can get stuff from the antenna as long as we have some kind of cell phone coverage or a Wi-Fi. Like, we're in good shape. I mean, it's, you don't always need your TV for camping, but it's nice if you can get it whenever it's available to get news and whatnot. But so anyway, I finished that up yesterday. And then after that, since I had done all the plumbing, I then, the last thing I needed to do was finish flushing out all my water lines. And so I put a cup of bleach in the freshwater tank and then filled that up with, I don't know, 10, probably 12 or 15 gallons. And I had started running water through all the water lines from the water pump and double checking my fixtures, making sure there's no leaks. And so, lo and behold, came to another surprise leak. So, got this. This was the last place I checked because down in here, right here against the inside wall here is where the water pump is installed. And so I ran water through everything, flushed it out the low point drains, through all the faucets, through the outside shower. Everything was looking good. The last thing I did was I lifted this door up, figured, well, let me check the water pump. And it turns out, let me grab my flashlight. Right there where the rag is, that's the top of the gray water tank. And there was water on top of that tank. And so it was just a little bit, but right then I knew that it was leaking. So after I had started looking at the water pump, water was seeping from where these, the top and bottom of that piece clamps together. And the one connection wasn't very good anymore either. So got that removed, and I got another one on order. So, and that's actually the original water pump. So, you know, and it was actually kind of like acting up a little bit. Like it just, and it's a SureFlow. It's a SureFlow. So, an older one, and it's loud. So I ended up like searching around, looking at different water pumps, and I ended up ordering a C-Flow on Amazon, which had very good, I'll say it had very good reviews. It's very similar specs. This is like a 2.8 gallon per minute, and the C-Flow is either a 3 or 3.5. But a new C-Flow would be $75, but then you'd have to buy, you know, that filter and then any extra barb fittings that you need. Whereas I got the C-Flow one for $50, and it actually came with the inlet filter and then a bunch of extra fittings that you might need for the install. So, and it's supposed to be a lot quieter. I watched a couple videos on it. So, yep. So it'll be a new C-Flow, and I'm freaking hoping that once I get that back up and installed in here, that it's going to be over. So I'm ready to go camping. Yeah, and then also one of the problems I'm having is right there. That's the bottom half of that bracket from the water pump. And when they had put those in, when they installed that from the factory, because the actual pump part is in the way of those screws, so the screws get shimmied in there on an angle, and they stripped out the head. So because when I removed it, I actually had to cut that rubber to get it out, because I couldn't get the screws out because they're stripped. So just got to play around getting that little hunk removed and getting those screws out. So found another right there. I was actually looking in here, and right there to the outside, that's like my gas line going there, but there's some daylight going to the outside, so I'll have to go fix that up. I gotta go check that out. So finding all kinds of stuff. That's where that hole's at, right up in there. And because of that black I've looked over in this area a bunch of times, and because of that black caulking, I never would have noticed that had I not just looked on the inside and looked over. So that's the gas line too. So anyway, I'm gonna pump that full of caulking and fill that in there pretty good. So kind of glad I caught that one. So you know, you got to look at these things. Take peek around your camper, look for stuff. You know, that way, you know, I could be preventing, you know, leaking to the inside. It could just run down this here and work its way back in over that hole. So, yep, go get the caulk gun. All right, 2 days later, got the Seafoam C-Flow water pump installed, no leaks. Came with all the fittings, the filter there. And this thing is super quiet. Here, I'll turn it on, see if that kicks on. That thing is so quiet. It is like a fraction of the noise of what that SureFlow is. This thing is so loud. That thing's almost like when you have your generator on. But this guy it just putters. It's very, very quiet. It might be a little louder on the film, but when you're standing in here and that turns on, it's very, very quiet. So yep, so got all the plumbing connections, reused that fitting over there, threaded that on I used all pipe thread and a little bit of pipe dope on my connections. Crimped. Black and white goes together, and then the red goes to the blue. That's originally where the red was going to. It was tied into that blue one, so just hooked that guy back up the way it was before, and good to go. So looks like I got that job done. So I'll just monitor that. I'll keep running some water through it just to triple check all the connections. But as of now, as of right now, we're dry. No water down in, sitting on that black tank. That's where it was dripping on. So everything's looking good. Yeah, it's a pretty neat little water pump. So $50. It ends up being almost half of the price of if you get a brand new SureFlow. By the time you get your what the hell's that thing called? It's called your whatever it's called. It's like your little screen filter. It catches the debris, any debris coming in from your tank. So yeah, happy with that. Should be all done with plumbing stuff now, and next get on to some other jobs on this thing, so I can then finally get her on the road. So next job, I have all the parts. I'm gonna be redoing my electrical cord. I got the 30 amp RV smart plug, and just got that yesterday, and it really is, it's nice. The prongs on that thing are very, very nice. So can't wait to get that installed. So that's all in part of me getting rid of that little access panel for the electrical cord. I'm going to do my outside plug-in cord with the smart plug, install a baggage door, and then that will allow me to shoot my foam glue guns up in the sidewalls there to clamp down and fix, hopefully, which should work out pretty good, fix the delamination. There's a little bit of delamination on the side, and then I got a new, it was leaking from the vent hood cover on the outside wall. That's where the original delamination started. So I got a brand new cover, and there's also a security light above that. I got one of those. I'm going to replace all the shit in the area where the delamination was, and that way, moving forward, if there's ever any more leaks or delaminations, then I really got to figure it out. But I mean, the roof's done, everything's fixed up there. The delamination is an old problem, so I think it really just traveled, because once it starts to bubble out, when you're driving it around and moving in vibration, I think it's just going to continue to kind of open up a little bit. So we'll see. Maybe I can fix it. If I get it, it'll be fine. If I don't, it's not going to be worse than what it was. So should work. I contacted pretty savvy RV tech guy. Asked a couple questions, just making sure on the Great Stuff construction adhesive, which I use a lot at work, but just to see if that is a decent option for an RV delamination type of fix, and should be okay. There's some other methods. I'm not going to make those stupid homemade rods and try to pump a whole bunch of epoxy in there. I'm not going down that road. I think the way I have it set up to do, I think I'll be able to get it done, and it'll be pretty solid. So if not, like I said, I don't think it's going to be any worse than what it is now. So I'm confident that I'm not completely going to screw something up. So we'll see. But anyhow, so plumbing's done, water pump's in, new fixture, outside shower. Got shutoffs in the cabinet. While I am, let me stand up here. Although I'm confident it's not leaking because I can kind of see if it's dripping from the storage bin door outside. The sink faucet in the wet bath. The access for that is in the Arctic Fox cabinet. So you got to slide that door out. There's a little access panel there, 4 screws. So I'm going to take this guy out. I'm going to open that up. I'm going to double check my sink faucet connections just to be sure that there's no drips coming from there. So I just want to double check everything. That faucet, the faucet in here will be the next thing to go. So let me show you. When you are in here, this handle here squeaks. I mean, the cartridges they're gonna go soon. I mean, it's still working, but it's just they squeak. That this side, the cold side is fine. The hot side, and so, you know, this is one where, yeah, you know, you're not really going to find a cartridge for it. They have replacement faucets similar to this. So like I said, I'm going to get in the cabinet. I'm going to get in the access panel. It's right in here. And that way I can check in underneath this sink basin. I should be able to get a pretty decent view of what's inside there. So while I'm hooking water up and, you know, finishing the flush out and everything, I'll be able to check this. So I don't think that one's leaking though. But, you know, you live and you learn. You got to keep checking all your, in the RVs, you got to keep checking all your connections, your faucets. You got to be peeking in these access panels and stuff, you know, after every trip, or, you know, every so often, just a couple times a year to make sure. So that's it for that one. So next will be working on the outside. All right, got the Milwaukee 4-in-1 screwdriver. This thing comes in handy. Nice right angle drill. It's got a bunch of different heads for it. So I'm gonna get this panel off and check these pipes quick. Might as well do it now. Alrighty. So there's the fixture. So yeah, everything's dry. I think everything's looking good. It's kind of a tough reach back in there, but I think we're all good. Everything seemed dry. No drips. So that'd be a son of a bitch to replace that faucet. I gotta still figure out how to take this thing off of the hinge there. Somewhere there's got to be a lever to get that off, but once this thing's out, it'd be a little easier to reach back in there. But so yeah, so sink faucet's looking good for now. So, you know, maybe later in the year, next year, we'll see how that faucet goes, and then I'll probably eventually grab a new one to replace that with, just to get her done. So it's like 15 years old. So anyway, yep, so full plumbing check. Everything's looking pretty decent.